So panel number 3, which is building trust in the digital age, data privacy, security and transparency. For moderating the session, we have Nidhi Agarwal, who's a full-time consultant and she will be moderating the session. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Nidhi Agarwal. Woohoo! Next up, we have Sandeep Sachdeva, Customer and Seller Experience Head, Snapdeal. Let's give it up for Mr. Sandeep. Last but not the least, we have Mohit Jain, VPCX Orient Electric. Let's give it up for Mr. Mohit, guys. Let's give a huge round of applause for all our panelists, the speakers. The stage is all yours. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll also have questions at the end of the panel. And you can ask them more questions during your networking break. Over to you. Thank you.
Hello. I know it's just after lunch and we all are very sleepy right now. But let me start off with something that might, open all your eyes. So, एक शायरी बताती हूँ. वक्त लगता है खुद को बनाने में, वक्त लगता है खुद को बनाने में, इसलिए वक्त बर्बाद मत करो किसी को मनाने में. But in the context of CX, it's completely different. We have to spend time for our customers and make sure they're happy. And in today's digital world, we know how important our data is for us. As a customer, I always feel, how is this company using my data? How are they, saving my data? Are they, what if it gets stolen? Like we hear so many articles, so many news across the day कि ये वाले company का ये data चुरा लिया, यहाँ से ये हो गया, so many cyber attacks. So how safe is it really? So thank you Sandeep and Mohit for joining this panel, and I'll have a few questions for both of you, and let's see, how we can really understand what Orient and what Snapdeal is doing to fix this. So Sandeep, I'll like to start with you. Please tell us, what role does customer education play in building the trust in your organization?
Okay, I'll give it for Radhika first of all. The word trust. We had an amazing lunch session, and I think more than the food, it was the conversation that led the way. And we were talking about different experiences on trust. I'll give you a few examples that were quoted, and first one is a dentist at Clove, right? If you go to a dentist or any other doctor and you say that I have this issue, and he gives you a solution, he says, I'll do this operation on you without telling you why, what happened, etc. Will you like it? How many of you will like it? No. Why? Because there is no trust between the doctor, because he has not even told you why he's doing what he's doing. So step one for him is to give you that comfort and try to explain you what bad has happened. Now, how he is going to sort this out and what is going to be a long-term strategy for it. Now, the same is true for any organization, any relationship. The trust factor, it's not words, it's about the deeds that you do. But it starts with how much you are transparent with your customer. As far as Snapdeal is concerned, our terms and conditions are very, very easy to interpret, right? So there will be organizations where they will have 200 pages of their terms and conditions, which will make it difficult for any customer to understand what they are actually signing off. The customer gives up and just signs off. Example would be Microsoft Word or any OS that you use today. You go to the end and you just say, I agree, and you start. Nobody in this room would have ever read what that says, right? Now, even if you give the same things as pointers that, okay, these are the 5 things that I'm trying to give you, which are terms and conditions, makes it much easier for any customer to understand what he is trying to get into. Now, the same thing is true when it comes to our organization, and this is how probably I want to see every organization to start finding out that, okay, these are the 5 main terms and conditions that you are signing off, which will be the basic of or fundamental of any trust relationship that we are talking about. We are in e-commerce industry. So the second thing we do is that we ensure that we have a very strong gated system for any seller who is or seller or a vendor who is coming in to sell the product to a customer. Now that gated system, I was just speaking with Anamika that how do we differentiate ourselves? It's not a democracy that anybody comes in and gives any shitty product to any other customer. It doesn't work that way. How it works is that there will be X number of checks that will be done on you and periodically to ensure that the quality of the product that you are selling is to a certain bare standards, which will be the quality against the price that the customer is paying. The listings have to be informative to tell the customer what he or she is buying. So the right kind of attributes, we call it attributes, let me just make it easier for you that what is the color, right? What all different dimensions or variables that any product should have, a minimum number of variables that you have that if you see this and you say, you know what, this is good, I want to buy it. Or this is something that doesn't go with me and I'm not going to buy it. So making it easier for the customer will build that trust with them. Again, being honest and upfront in terms of how many days it's going to take to get the delivery. So if I'm shipping something from, let's say, Bangalore to Badaun, right, which is a tier 3 city, so it is going to take 5 days. And that's the reality of life. What if I give a shorter term? It is not going to work and it is going to break that trust with that customer. So customer education, having the right terms and conditions, making it short, crisp to the customer, are few of the things that we do to evolve that customer's trust.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. So, Mohit, you are in a product-based company, Orient Electric, and so how has the evolution of customer expectations shaped the approach to data collection?
Okay. So customer expectations, see, with the data evaluation, if I say, see how we do in Orient is, see, I have my whole journey. I started with Samsung, I started with Panasonic, then I was in Groha, now that I'm working with Orient Electric from quite some time now. So the point is this transition happens from a product company, as my friend Sandeep said, into a kind of a omni-channel what we have now. So everybody has to be present out there. And data sanctity is very important, you know. Data accuracy, data sanctity, what we say is. So when we come to a point that, for example, what we do in Orient is, yes, customers are evolving in a very different fashion. So we are a 70-year-old brand. But can we survive with that logic what we are doing 70 years back? I'm so sorry, we cannot. And people have seen different companies. I can case it out, a lot of companies who are topping the charts but not now there actually because they have not transformed. They have not changed their strategy. They have not changed their pattern. They have not seen that what the customer experience is and what is the customer demand is. So if I say the customer is evolving, yes. Is the customer aware? Yes, they are much more aware. And the best part is the company who comes ahead is we have to think beyond what customer is expecting. Then we can survive. So that is the Orient strategy. I'm saying from right now the strategy is like that. And I see that every company has to follow the same strategy what we are into. This is number one. Number two, if you said that how the customer is evolving in terms of evolvement plus in terms of the data patterns. So we have all seen, and this room is filled with all the knowledge and the patterns. The company who are surviving in the world in the current scenario is, the king is who has the data, who has customer database. It's not about, yes, branding is important, pricing is important, evaluation is important, but customer database is the key. And then we have to see if the customers are evolving in a different fashion. So what we can give back to the customer in terms of their expectation levels. What does the customer need from a particular brand or a product? It may be a product-based or a non-product-based company. If it's a service-based company, also customer expectations remains the same. That's what I think actually. But the point is, in Orient, philosophy is being a legacy company as a CK Birla Group from last 70 years now. We have to evolve ourselves. We have to see. We cannot say, boss, we are there from 70 years, so we can lead the brand. Nobody can lead the brand from last 70 years, and nobody has seen it actually evolving. If we are not evolving, what customers are evolving actually? So that's the answer to your question.
Thank you so much. So we've also seen India, a recent shift towards data privacy, security, and I think like the GDPR Act, we have the DPDP Act now, right? So Mohit, in your point of view, what are the biggest challenges that businesses face today in meeting the expectations of more information and demanding customer base?
Yeah, so more information and demanding customer it's like what? It's like, is the customer, as I said, is the customer aware? Yes. They are far, far knowledgeable because you know the media, you know online, you know the information, you know the knowledge which is flowing across now. So they know each and everything. So we have to learn from customer. And with the strategy of that business, how the business can grow is, if you think ahead of a customer, what customer is thinking, you can survive, number one. You can lead the charts, number two. And for the data privacy, if I say yes, data privacy, it's again a trust between us and the customer. So building trust is not that too easy, because building brand and building trust goes hand in hand. That's what we have seen, and everybody knows it, that it's a philosophy of every company. So it's like, if I am building a trust, I am building a brand. If I am building a brand, I am building a trust. So if the trust is there, so the companies in the current scenario, what I feel and what we feel in Orient is, so that data sanctity or data privacy of any consumer should be very, very transparent. We have to be very transparent with the customer. If the company is not transparent today, believe me on you, is tomorrow something will happen and it will bounce back. So we have to be very transparent. This is number one. Number two is, when we come from transparency, our strategy for a company or a brand should be very concise, very easy, and it should be understood by the customer also. So we should know that what customer wants, how the data privacy can go through, how we are keeping the data of the customer, and customer should have a trust in us that yes, their data is safe. Ultimately, they are investing in a brand, they are investing in something. So it's not a one-way traffic, it's a both-way traffic. So, and as I said, no brand can be built without a trust, and without trust, nothing happens. So it's a kind of a hand in hand again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mohit. Sandeep, how does Snapdeal deal with all this? How do you ensure the privacy and security of customer data? Because unlike Mohit has a product-based company, for you, it's completely online. So there's a vast difference in how you people collect information. So what does Snapdeal do to fix this?
Great question. Let me start answering it in this way. We take that much amount of data that is required to deliver a product. I will not take any more data. If you are coming and viewing a product, I don't even want you to log in, it's all right. If you want to check the delivery at a certain PIN code, you put a phone number and you put an OTP, which means that you reach to an account, and that's the only information that I take from you. I'm not taking access of any other part of your phone. Similarly, when you have ordered a product, then I take the additional lat long and I take the address so that I can deliver you the product. And all that is done after taking permission from the customer. And another permission which is taken is that, can I send you a WhatsApp update? Because most of us use WhatsApp more often as compared to a SMS app.
Absolutely.
Right? If I look at my own phone, there will be like 2,000 odd messages blinking, but we still go to the WhatsApp and say, you know what, there should not be anything pending out there because most of the world is using it. So, the first thing that I'm trying to make is take only as much data as it is required to do the transaction. Don't take any more data from the customer and be the transparent with the customer. So that is how it is being controlled. B, Snapdeal uses state-of-the-art encryption decryption, which means when data comes in, it comes into multiple layer of protection. And even as a customer service head, I cannot go and find anybody's phone number who is registered on Snapdeal. Even I can't do it.
Great.
The level of access is to this extent that if there will be a customer service advisor, if a customer wants to call, he'll call my helpline. The customer service advisor will not know his phone number or address.
Great.
Till the time he has to verify. The customer says, you know what, my delivery has not happened. When he says that there is a delivery related concern, then that page opens up and that is where he'll take that access for that, for his customer's address and validate if it is going to the right one or not. Not only restricting to Snapdeal, even the partners that we choose to deliver, the FE, the courier boy who will come to your house will not have your number. He'll have an app which will get connected to the dialer who will dial the number for the customer. Like in Uber, right? You don't get a driver's phone number. Similarly, and driver doesn't get your phone number. Similarly, we do not have this interfaces created so that the customer's phone number is not shared with anybody else. And that, to start with, I think one of the identifier for any person, anybody sitting here, will be the phone number and the WhatsApp that they're using.
Right.
So restricting that information. So starting taking only as much as you require. B is keeping a very, very strict check and ensuring that nobody has access than required. Third is the encryption that we use. Are three major steps that we do to keep it, the way it is right now.
That's great. I think I read a story in the morning today on LinkedIn where there was a marketing consultant who mentioned that why do we collect data? It's to know our customers better so that we can market or sell our services and product. But if we take too little data, we are blind. If we take too much, it's data privacy and security. So how much data should you actually take? So he gave an example of a honeybee. Honeybee takes enough nectar from the flower so that, it can make honey and leave everything behind so that it can bloom into a flower. So I think that really resonates with the topic that we are discussing today. So Sandeep, what do you think, what additional steps can industries take today to improve customer trust into data practices?
If I become the PM tomorrow, I'll say I'll take 3 steps to make it better. First is, everybody thinks that they're doing the best, right? You'll ask me, I'll say I'm doing the best based on the information that I have. You will see, you'll ask Manoj the same question, he'll say that his company is doing the best, right? And everybody sitting here will say the same. But we are doing our best in our umbrella of knowledge. So every industry need to have some standardization in terms of what should be those control metrics or what should be those data metrics or why different apps take different kind of controls. Why it is not a universal control that they can go and they ask for one kind of apps, I mean to say. So creating some standard protocols and learning from each other. I'm sure that there will be something right we are doing, which versus something right which Amazon is doing, something right which Flipkart is doing. But if we put all that knowledge together, it will be even better for the customer and his privacy, right? And his data protection. So if we make all these forces together and then create a benchmark that, okay, this is the benchmark, isse upar wala sahi hai, isse niche wala kharab hai.
Absolutely.
That will be first thing I'll do as a PM. The second thing that I'll probably do is bring in blockchain. So today we are not using the best of the technology available to protect customers' data. It might be more expensive, it might be more difficult to do right now, but I think as the advancement of technology comes in, blockchain can play a very, very pivotal role in data privacy and also ensuring that you don't get those fraud calls. I also get fraud calls at times, right? And not from Snapdeal, but from different places, okay? Uh, so each one of us, and I read an analysis actually that 1 out of 3 Indians have been defrauded one time or the else in the last 10 years. And it's a huge number in itself,
It is very huge.
right? So I think there has to be some action that has to be taken in terms of education where we started from, and then creating those policies which can ensure that there is high degree of checks and balances to a place where we bring in technology to identify it, and also using maybe machine learning and AI to identify which are those areas, pin codes, users who are defrauding the rest of us. I believe it is, if everybody puts in their head to do it, we can actually solve the problem of these fraudulent things happening in the system by implementing all these things.
That's great. Sandeep, taking from what you earlier said, absolutely, one big fear for us as customers was when these courier boys had our contact numbers. So I remember when somebody, delivered my product and said that, ma'am, 5-star rating de dena, nahi to aapko call karna padega, aapka number mere paas hai. And, as compared to now, when, I get a message from Expressways that, your courier partner is going to deliver, if you are not at home, press 1. Or if you want to speak to the courier delivery guy, press 2, and an automated call generates. And obviously, my number is not visible to him, and his number is not visible to me, which is very great. So we've come in a long way. Mohit, what do you think are the ethical responsibilities of companies while they are collecting and using consumer data? And how can they effectively communicate it to the customers? Because we know that, our contact numbers, our address, our date of birth, there's so many things that are there with you all.
So just to give you an example for this, so very good question, so to be honest, but the point is, first of all, are we sensitized? Have we sensitized our teams actually? See, we do a lot of, compliances or trainings on integrities in companies. Every company is doing it, it's not nothing. But have we done on data sanctity? Have we done it? Have we done with our people actually? They know what data is. Is the data flowing outside of the company? I'm just quoting it. I'm not saying they are flowing, but is it flowing? Is the employee or any immaterial of the hierarchies, are they not responsible for that? Everybody is responsible for that. So my point is, this is a kind of an integrity if it is there. So first of all, every employee, it's not, and it is from the peon till the level of any hierarchies, it is the responsibility of everybody that data should be concise within the teams, within the departments, or within the organization only. So that's very, very important. So the practice, see, what we say is, so good thing starts from your home only actually.
Absolutely.
So we have to start from our home only. So if we are doing a good practice at our home, obviously we can expect from a customer, or the replica we can create for a consumer actually. So this is the first. I'll give you an example. For example, so in what we do in Orient is, any email, outside email of Orient, we have to whitelist. We have to whitelist. So without, and I'm not saying we are doing it, a lot of companies are doing it. It's a very small example to do that. And some point of time people get frustrated, yaar main mail nahi kar sakta hu. It's not why I cannot do it. I cannot send mails to my vendor if it is not shortlisted or if it is not whitelisted, something like that. But it is important. If it is important because you cannot send a X vendor data to Y vendor, boss. It's very, very difficult.
Absolutely.
So, and company, you have seen, and everybody has seen how the companies has fallen for this. So this is my first aspect is, and what philosophy and what I have seen in organization where I have grown is, it is very, very important part and parcel of the company. So people should understand the importance of data. People should be aware. as Sandeep said very categorically and very right, that we should have those kind of mechanisms, those kind of infrastructures or systems, mechanisms to grab that, to do a gating system kind of a sum, that it should not go out. This is for internal purpose. Third, he rightly said, he already mentioned that the data what we require we only take and we consume it, but we have to consume it and we have to be very transparent. Again, to quote an example, for example, we had a lot of systems. We have BI tools, we have SAP, we have HANA, we have X, we have Y, we have Z. And some point of time, a lot of startup companies come and they want to tie up with you to give you a best concept solution, digital solutions, what even we are doing in our customer experience space. But if we have to integrate those BI tools, we have to buy them, we have to take it from external vendors, then obviously we have to give our data to them. So is that right? I don't know. We have to see that it is right. Yes, it is right. We have to. Because everything we cannot do it. We are not an IT company. Understand from that perspective. We are not an IT-based company. If we have to grab a tool, if we have to develop some system, we have to take or support from an outside vendor. Maybe an IT company, any IT company. So first of all, we have to gauge, is that IT company right? What is the credibility of that company in market? Then is the compliance through? Then all the agreements are signed. Is the NDA signed with them or not? So if we are doing that due diligence, nothing will happen, to be honest. And we have seen it. And if it still happens, you have the key for that. So that's what my take is. One is internal and second is external. So both ways you have to be active. You have to be smart enough to handle that. And you have to be sensitized from the down the line to the upper hierarchies actually.
Absolutely, and very rightly put across. Because even when we work with vendors, we've seen them that, let's say somebody is at L1, so they're at agent level, they don't have access to send emails to outside extensions or receive emails from outside. So we have to get them whitelisted. Yes, it's an issue, it's a problem, but then if we think about data security and why they are doing it, it all makes sense. So in the end, I'll like to ask both of you a question. What do you think are the innovative approaches to data privacy and trust that should be basically used widely? I know Sandeep mentioned blockchain, but we know that is a technology which is very expensive and it's very difficult to implement, especially with small organizations or startups. With bigger organizations, yes. So what do you think, some common practices that can be used widely across organizations? Any one of you, if you want to answer.
Yeah, you'll make me think again. Okay, so I think basic practice that you can do for any customer is, I'll still go back to the point saying that take only as much as is required.
Great.
And that does not need any nuclear science to understand. It is a very basic information, and access controls is only the required person. Even if your organization which cannot decrypt or encrypt, not everybody in the organization need to have access to everything. You can control that access. Financial information only staying in the finance department, right? Customer information only staying in one department, and again, on a need based, it can be circulated or given to those individuals. Purging is another important activity that has to be done no matter what the size of the organization is. A customer does not want to be with you. His personal information has to be erased from the system. It's his choice of not to be remembered, and it needs to be exercised in the same way. So apart from that, sensitization and education, which Mohit rightly called out, in the organization and to your customers is equally important. Customer should know what is happening with his data, and that develops a trust. If your employees also know that how to use that, like Radhika ma'am, she gave a brilliant example of the first level of customer satisfaction, starting with the driver who was picking those people up from Noida to Dehradun, right? So at the first point of contact to the last point of contact that you have, they knowing specifically what to do with that data, what is the right thing to do, and if they have certain information with them, once they have used it, finish it.
Great. So thank you so much, Sandeep and Mohit. Everyone, now it's over to you. If anybody wants to ask our esteemed panelists anything, you're all welcome to do that. Anyone, any questions?
Guys, any questions, please? Elsewise, we'll think you're sleeping.
IT still have time.
Some questions, come on. Or do we have to say another shairi for, all of you to wake up?
Hi, I'm Sangeeta. I work for Prudent Insurance Brokers. And when we talk about the data privacy, because we are in the healthcare and we have to take care of that. But when we talk about all the organizations who are into selling product to customers, don't you think the data has been used by them for any other purpose also?
So any other purpose means they are using the data for their own marketing or the support or
Yes. Yes.
See, one is the point is if I have a database with me, right? I have a lot of database. We sell almost around 5 crores of fans every year per annum actually, and we have that database with us. Please understand this. So, and we are not into one business. We are into 4 businesses. We have fans, we have appliances, we have lighting, we have switchgear. So one is the database is with us, and that is our database. I'm not barging into any other's database. I'm not getting a Snapdeal data or customer data. That's my customer database. It might be the customer experience data, it might be the treasury sales data, something, anything, or e-warranty data or anything. And if I want to promote my second product to that customer, I don't call it as a misuse. Because what I am doing, he's an Orient customer, right? I am only promoting my Orient brand or a second product to him. But where I see, if I fetch some data from Snapdeal, and I am barging my products into that particular stuff, then it is not right. That is not ethical practice, what we foresay is. And every company is doing the same way. What we call it as sales promotion, what we call as marketing promotions. How the marketing promotions will happen. One is obviously all the ATL and BTL activities. Everybody does it. But is the customer aware? For example, if you go to tier 2 or tier 3 cities right now, we have a BLDC technology. We have BLDC fans. People know it now. But majorly in tier 1. Does people know about in tier 2, tier 3? That they have a remote fan and the fan can be operated through a remote. So how we are aware, how will make a customer aware who has an induction fan, which is a traditional fan which is going from quite some time now. So only thing we have to obviously promote our BLDC to that particular consumer. And obviously the technology is changing. After 5 years, you may not see the induction fan in market. It's only a BLDC stuff. So that's to answer you. That's my way. Sandeep can comment on
So
this.
I have a question to your answer. That don't you think you have to take a consensus from the buyer to send a promotional?
I was so eager to answer your previous question as well, but Mohit did a great job in
Because
answering.
I have a question for you also.
I'll take as
So
many
because,
questions.
you
But
say-
give me 1 second and I'll answer.
Yeah,
Sangeeta ji,
sure.
first of all, great question. As far as consent is concerned, whether you're buying Oriental product or you're buying any services from any company, most of the time, right, either knowingly, again, that is where the trust factor comes in, or unknowingly, you give the permission. Even if you are giving your health records to an insurance company, you are giving first, you are letting them go through your medical records, right? And I'm sure that you have to do tens of checks with your vendors, because if a person is going, you're not, if you're issuing an insurance, you are making them go through rounds of different people, getting access to that information. And medical records is one of the most private information for any individual, right? And again, there are GDPR and there are other rules that you guys follow, and similar standards are being followed by us and any other law of the land that is coming in. Now, the thing that Mohit picked up was that does any company have a right to remarket you, right? And that probably was the bottom line that you wanted to ask. In my opinion, and that's a very, very personal opinion, is that the answer is purely yes, because that's a right to choose for a customer as well. If nobody advertises you anything, how will you differentiate the product? But giving that right information is critical. So if somebody markets you that, okay, there is a fan which comes with the remote and you can use it because you have been using an induction fan for 5 years, it's an upgrade for you. You might want to do it. It's your choice whether you want to buy or not. Today, you go to YouTube, if you don't buy a premium version, you are already a product. You are watching those ads. And that has a bigger influence on you rather than any marketing campaign pushing it to you. I hope I answered your question. Or I can take a subsequent question too. Yeah.
Hello, please. Okay.
Especially, for example, I come from dental very recently. We are not supposed to advertise. We can't solicit.
Yes.
I can't say come to Clove Dental because I have the best dentist or I have the cheapest dental. No, none of that. I can only say take care of your teeth. Don't brush twice. ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. I can scare you a little.
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I can put the fear that if you don't take care. So I think she is coming from that point of view. When it comes to ethical and non-ethical, can you solicit? I think borderline solicit. Solicit.
Yeah, but I think that based on industry as well, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It's
See,
very
yeah, so it's
law of the land based.
yeah, it's obviously industry and product based, and where you are working for. For example, healthcare, you cannot compromise. Please understand. I understand. 100%. That's what I am saying. See, the point is, if it is a safety of a consumer, right? So nobody can play with the safety of a consumer. So where I am coming from is, I am not coming from a safety of a consumer. I am into a durable stuff. I am into a consumer durable organization, and I've worked in Samsung and Panasonic of the world. They are the same kind of hierarchies we have, or same kind of products what we have. So the point is, it is not any safety concerns which we are barring or which we are tampering the customer, to be honest. But yes, as Sandeep rightly said, it should be in the right direction to answer you is, it is not like that if the data is with me, I can do anything with that data. It is also not like that. But I am saying, to answer, what I understood was, ki if you have data, can you do anything? Yes, we have to do, because we have to do sales promotions. We have to do marketing promotions. We have to upgrade ourselves. We have to upgrade our customers. We have to upgrade our loyal customers also. But the point is, to a kind of a limit also for that. It is not like banging onto a customer. If he is not replying, we'll use his data hey and why and we'll bang it out. So we have to be quite sensible enough to do that.
Yeah. And similar to healthcare, we cannot promote baby care as well. So there will be certain line of products that you will never be promoted about. Healthcare being one of them. So there are few more to it which cannot be promoted, but rest of them can be. So that is where they are. Any other questions, please? I'm picking your line.
Great then. Okay.
I'll help you with the mic.
I have a question to you only. Recently, you have given an example of this YouTube ads and ads free, right? I do understand to an extent that ad is quite important, in order to understand what are the new products which are coming up in the market. or how the company is more sensitive about their customers, what new they are going to bring for them. But don't you think that, while going to the reports, I can see that still the customer base, those who are looking for ads-free YouTubes is keep on increasing. Because
it does.
I just want to know from you, from the sentiment point of view, that if it is so critical for an enterprise or a brand or a company, which is, I believe also that it is true, but how the customer experience, now there are so clutters of ads, so many things are coming. So they want to get out of it, and they just want to see that what I want to see as a content. What are your views, especially on this ad kind of a piece?
See, there was time I used to listen to music, right? I used to buy those cassettes and CDs, and I used to pay that $200 to buy that music cassette. Till the time it democratized and became free. Anything that becomes free, then you are the product, right? So we were talking about India 1, India 2, India 3, right? And if you know, I'm sure that you know the differentiation. So India 3 is basically where an American company will come and experiment that what is working and what is not working, and then take it further to their other matured audiences. Now, it's an ethical question that you ask that, okay, should I have right to, and now I'm talking from a Google perspective, right, or a YouTube perspective. Should I throw you ads or should I not throw you ads? If you are watching it for free, they have all the rights to throw you as many ads that they want to. And any product company or any service company will like to go at a platform where people are. So if people are on Instagram, everybody would like to go to Instagram to advertise. If they are on YouTube, we would like to go to YouTube to advertise, right? And that's my right to do it because I want people to be aware of my product and then choose whether they want to buy or not. YouTube as a medium gives you flexibility that, okay, basically I am free if you let advertisers reach to you, and if you want a premium thing, then buy this, give me this money, and then you see it for free, and then they will not disturb you. And there are merits to both, right? Many of us Indians never wanted to pay that money, and that is why the ads came in. And I'll take you back to even convenience. When Blinkit came in, and we were talking about this example, right? Blinkit came in, they were giving everything for free, right? They were not charging any convenience fee, and everybody started using it. It came to a time when it has become so part of us that we are paying convenience fee and still they are a beta positive. Right? And even they put pamphlets which advertise. And when you open their app, they also promote, whether it's a Zomato, whether it is Blinkit, each one of them is earning monetization through the ads again. So ads will stay where people are. If not through this, then they will probably do it through WhatsApp. If not through WhatsApp, they will use an RCS. If not through RCS, they will do through SMS. But mediums may change, but organization will always like to reach to the public. TV used to be there, right? TV पे भी ads आते थे. We used to watch it. वहाँ पे choice नहीं था बस. Medium was same. वो वहाँ पे bulk ads आ रहे थे, and we were watching it. YouTube पे choice है कि पैसा देके वो बंद कर सकते. Right? I hope I answered your question.
That's a great insight, Sandeep.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What I believe,
Just let me know when the time is over, then we can take it offline.
what I believe
I
that
think it
whenever-
just became interesting.
Yeah? Yeah, we just broke the queue. Yes, sir.
So, what I believe that whenever we get a SMS or a email, basically a brand showing us the advertisement, is not reactive. It is when we somehow or the other, it is a two-way approach. But if I talk about data security, all of us in this conference, we must have been through a situation when we are talking to our family members or our friends, and the second moment we see the ad on our mobile phone.
My dear friend, we should sue American companies.
Is it only the American companies? Because I have been associated with few D2C brands, and lately what I have been seeing is that a lot of D2C brands are using this unethical practice to target the end consumer. And this is something, because when you talk to your family member, you can talk about anything. You can talk about marriage, you can talk about health, you can talk about relationships. So, what do you think 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, how is it going to affect us?
See, just to answer you is, see, you saying 10 years forward, you go 10 years back. See, ultimately how things have evolved from last 10, 15 years. See, the pattern has totally changed, right? How the pattern has changed is, as Sandeep said very loud and clear, was that there was medium. So when we were 20 years back, the medium was so limited to us. It might be a television or it might be anything. There was, or a email or something. Email be it's all not fast story back for 25, 30 years back. So now if I say today, the medium has totally changed. And to answer you is startups. So there are a lot of startups. So you go to Google and you say how many startups are there in Delhi NCR. So you'll get a shock of your life that how many startups we only have in Delhi NCR. So now the point that comes here is that we have startups, we have companies, we have A brands, B brands, C brands, and now the startups has come in. So are these startups are doing the ethical practices? Yes or no? But if they are not doing it, they will not be able to sustain. They know it. It's a very short-term game actually. So if they want to get into a long term, they have to do that due diligence. They have to get the compliance done. Otherwise, they will get fixed some point of time. And to answer you is, there are companies in market. There are short-term people. There are startups which don't follow this at all. So that is how it is. And controlling this, it's not that too easy again. Because again, you don't have a kind of a control mechanism on startups. You cannot say that this startup is 100% compliant. Yes, it should be. Ethically, it should be. But brands like, I'm not saying Orient, we in this room, there are a lot of brands which are sitting. So the point is, the brands take that responsibility. And the person who takes responsibility, only that sustain and survive. And this is a story. You take it for this year, you take it 10 years back, you take 20 years back. The brand who has survived only survived because of their due diligence only.
No, I'm just saying absolutely, you're absolutely right. You don't.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know where the technology will be. Absolutely.
There is this one thing I want to add. Very well answered, Mohit, but थोड़ा टेक्निकल जाते हैं, ठीक है? सिर्फ 30 सेकंड के लिए. Every phone has a microphone, right? And that microphone is governed by the OS that you are using. अगर आप Apple use कर रहे हो, तो iOS कंट्रोल करता है. Siri अगर आपको यूज करना है, तो you give that access to Apple that you listen to everything, then I'll be able to understand that you are calling for Siri. Same way Android पे जाते, you give access to Google कि आप मेरी आवाज़ सुन लो, right? How does Google run? Google का अपना OS free है. It gives free OS to every phone maker in the world, right? Android is free, but they advertise. They earn from advertisement. How do they get those advertisements? By listening to these cues, right? So if you are getting that ad, very, very high chance it's either your OS determining that next action. जो आपने एक और बोला कि some D2C companies are also using it, I think we are at fault. The user is also at fault. क्यों? Because when you are installing that app, it asks you, do you want to give microphone access? Without application, no software can actually pull it. It's based on OS. So you need to have an app, given access rights to that app for that microphone for it to listen to you. Elsewise, apps cannot listen. Any site you go, till the time you don't give it the microphone access, you can't use Zoom, right? You install Zoom, it says, give me the rights on Chrome or on Safari or anywhere else. Similarly, जब तक आप access नहीं दोगे, it will not work. Only your OS will know that. OS is iOS and Google. इसलिए मैंने बोला था कि American companies, right? I hope I answered your question. We'll take it offline.
Last one.
Hi, I'm Gaurav. Sandeep and Mohit, I need just your views on my question, both of you. I am from Lifelong. We are selling our product through Amazon or Flipkart. More than 80% we are selling through these products, through these portals, right? So if we are asking our customer database from Amazon and Flipkart, it is ethical or non-ethical? Because it is our customers, our product, we are paying Amazon and Flipkart as paying for those product selling. But if we are not getting the data, is it ethical or not ethical? That's it.
सर एक केस हुआ था अमेरिका में, राइट? और पुलिस ने एप्पल को बोला कि आप कस्टमर की इंफॉर्मेशन दे दो, राइट? दे डिनाइड. That is where they became one of the most trusted phone makers in the world. That they did not, they said हम jail break ही नहीं कर सकते फोन को, चाहे वो कर सकते होंगे नहीं कर सकते होंगे. I have no idea about it. Now the question that you have is, should you get the customer information जो आपको लगता है कि आपका कस्टमर है? Amazon या Flipkart ये बोलेगा कि उनके साइट पे आया तो उनका कस्टमर है. He is not your customer. You are just a vendor who is selling some product via Amazon or Flipkart. You are generating an invoice for the customer, but because you are using their platform, they will not give you the customer's phone number. Because the customer has not given consent to give you the phone number. Hence, they will not give you.
Thanks.
One more thing to add to this is, see, they also have to do their brandings. They also have to do their, their customer database. So the point is, if a company has, as you said rightly, that your presence on Amazon and Flipkart is 80%, the rest your general trader, modern trade is 20%. So there are reverses also. So for example, it can be vice versa, 80-20 also. So the point is, it is a kind of a sanctity to those people also, that boss, if I am giving my customer, that your customer database to you back is, ultimately it is coming back to you. Why Amazon and Flipkart cannot get benefit out of it? Because obviously it's a platform. It's a kind of a omni-channel what they have. It is not, they don't have their own products for that. So obviously they will utilize it. Na? So as I said as ma'am said, somebody asked me in the forum that why you are using your data to promote your products. So they will also use their data to promote products.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you guys. What an interesting panel. Does it look like that it is a post-lunch panel full of energy, full of curiosity? I think one thing that we could have also added was Alexa. Alexa keeps listening to us and then the ads keep popping us. Okay. Thank you so much. What an amazing panel and what an amazing interactive audience as well. Now I would like to request Shraddha, who is the founder and Chief Executive Officer at Krypton, to please come up on the stage and felicitate our moderator, Nidhi Agarwal, the speakers, Shantanu, the speakers Sandeep Sachdeva and Mohit Jain. Let's give it up for them, guys. And Shraddha is over here. Can we have the music, please? Catch hold of this panelist during the networking break, guys. I'm sure there's a lot to learn and exchange. Mohit Jain. customer service and experience, Orient Electric.